Man, I'm really conflicted about this Jay-Z lawsuit. And if you're anything like me, you probably are too. So let's talk about it a little bit. Listen, if you're new to this channel, let me just introduce myself. My name is Jamal Kersey. I've been a criminal defense attorney for over 15 years. And on this channel, we break down legal concepts so you're in the know. So listen, before I was a lawyer, right? Before I graduated law school, got my law degree, passed the bar, first time, by the way, I was a hip hop head. Right? I'm a hip hop head now. I'm a fan of Jay-Z as an artist. I'm a fan of Jay-Z as an influencer, as a businessman. I'm sure at some point I quoted on Facebook, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman, right? He's in my top three. There are only three rappers who are consistent in my top 10, right? So spots 4 through 10 on any given day, depending on what side of the bed I wake up on, how I feel, those might switch. But in the top three, it's Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas, right? And they kind of cycle between each other in terms of who's, 1, 2, and 3. But let me tell you, man, I can remember going back to 96, right? Rolling around and my man Eric Civic bumping Reasonable Doubt, right? Brooklyn's Finest was on repeat, right? Jay-Z, Biggs, right? I can remember in 2000 rocking my 1994 electric blue Honda Accord in the Riverside Community College parking lot playing The Blueprint, right? I remember just losing my mind when I played Takeover and heard Ask Nas, he don't want to with Hove. No, right? Because, at that time, I think Nas was in the number one spot, and that was just crazy. I did not know that there was a beef brewing behind the scenes, but, that just shocked me to my core that there was going to be one of the biggest, most monumental rap beefs of all time. I haven't seen any other rapper more times in concert than Jay-Z besides Nas, right? So Nas is number one. Jay-Z is right behind him. And I say all that to say, I think very highly of this individual. And I was just talking to my boy, Nathan. We work together here at Kersey Law. He's the first people that folks talk to when they're interested in our service. And, we go back to high school, both love music, both played music together and all of that. And we were just talking about stars, right? And how you can admire somebody for something they do in their craft and have no idea who they are in their personal life, right? And I had read a book years ago from Colin Cowherd. He was on ESPN, and now he works for Fox Sport Network. And he was talking about, I think it was like back in the 70s when NBA players didn't really get paid as much as they do now, right? We hear about these multi-million, $100 million contracts and all this kind of stuff, crazy endorsements. Well, back in the day, NBA players, made mediocre money, right, compared to what they make now. And he was talking about going to a game. I think it was the NBA. It was either NBA or Harlem Globetrotters or something like that. Suffice it to say, there were famous basketball players that had played a game. Him and his dad had went to the game. And after the game, they were walking down the street, I guess, to get back to their car. And they see some of the players in the alley, like shooting dice and drinking or something like that. And it was not the image that wasn't the image you were expecting to see when it came to the stars that you look up to, right? You see these athletes on the court doing their thing, the kings of the court, and then you see them in the alley shooting dice, right? It's just not the image that a kid conjures up when they think of, what their favorite player is doing off the court. But I say that to just say we have no idea who folks are, in their regular life, what they do in their private life. Even with social media and the things that people put out that they want you to see, you don't know anything about them. And before I carry forward at all, Jay-Z has obviously vehemently denied any involvement with the allegations and what he's being accused of. And, I will respect that, right? I don't know what happened. And if you're being honest, you don't know what happened. It's all speculation. At some point, I imagine the truth will come to light. But as it stands right now, he has categorically denied this. And I'm just rocking with that for right now. And so I had seen a video from the great Stephen A. Smith, and he was expressing his opinion on how he won't for a second believe that Jay-Z did what he's being accused of, right? And how Stephen A. Smith gets down. Shout out to him. He knows Jay personally, right? He said that he's known this man for decades, and he can't even imagine Jay-Z doing something like this, right? And obviously I don't know Jay-Z personally at all. But I did ask myself, because I'm a fan, like why don't I have such a strong opinion on the matter? Like, I shot a video yesterday. Why didn't I come out swinging in defense of Jay-Z, saying how there's no possible way this could happen, and this is BS. This is, he is being framed, or he's being exploited. This is unfair. This is absurd. And this lawsuit is eventually going to get thrown out. Like, why didn't I come out swinging like that, right? And I just realized, like, listen, I don't know that man personally, right? And Stephen A. Smith is a journalist. He's one of the best in the world at what he does. And I, for one, I don't have this big bombastic personality, right? I'm a chill guy. What you see is what you get. This is how I am in the courtroom. This is how I am in regular life, right? I never get too high. I never get too low. I'm, just more of a stoic personality. And this, if I can go there with you guys, if I can get a little vulnerable, it's like that has been something where I'm like, man, from a content creator standpoint, I know, there are a lot of guys out here in the space, and they're they express much stronger opinions, or they'll inject a ton of humor into what they do, or just these much bigger personalities. And I figured, man, like, my message rocks with somebody, right? It rocks with you, right? If you've made it this far, then the way that I approach this resonates with you on some level. And if you've been rocking with me this long, then I definitely appreciate you tuning in. I really want to thank you for spending time with me. And listen, I try and play things fair. When I'm giving my opinion, when I'm giving my analysis, I really try and go about it in a respectful way. I try and respect both sides, right? In the context of this case, I'm being respectful to Jay. I'm being respectful to Puff. I'm being respectful to the alleged victim and her family. And, because I am a professional. I'm a man of God, and I do try and, I'm not perfect, but I do try and, walk the straight line. I do try and be a good person, just like you, right? And again, I'm not a journalist. I am a lawyer. And over the years, I've represented some people who have done some very bad things. I've represented people who have taken the lives of others. I've represented people who have tried to take other people's lives. I've represented people who have been convicted of sexual assault. I've represented people who have participated in gang beatdowns. I've represented people who have stolen, who have sold drugs, who have used drugs, who have been under the influence of drugs, just all these different type of things. And in my profession, I operate in a world where I have to take seriously the other side. I have to take seriously the accusations that are levied against my client, even if I know that my client didn't do what they're being charged with. I still have to take the other side into consideration in order to combat those charges. And that is something that, if you are just watching videos on the internet, or you're just reading news articles, that you don't necessarily have to do, but I would invite you to consider doing that just in your normal life. When something is presented to you, when new information is presented to you, and you might be inclined to say, no, I don't believe that. No, I don't believe that for a second. That's BS, right? Before you ever just disregard something, ask yourself, is there some sort of possibility that it could be true? And if it is, and you care enough about the topic, then I think that you should look into it and understand why you believe the way that you believe. And this was something that I learned years ago. I was watching some video that challenged me to do that, and that just sort of sent me down a rabbit hole of just questioning everything that I believed, and realized, like, man, so much stuff came from my parents, so much stuff came from, friends and other influences, from my church or from school, and, just beginning to question things. And as a lawyer, that is something that I have to do. But I also, when I think about, again, this case and these allegations, what we're dealing with, listen, I don't judge. As long as I can remember, I have not been a judgmental person, right? It's not my place to judge, right? I believe that is reserved for, our Father God. When it comes to being a lawyer, I definitely don't judge. That's not my place either, right? It is not my business to judge somebody for what they have done or what they're alleged to have done. My job is to protect their constitutional rights and make sure they're treated fairly within the system and get them the best possible result, given the circumstances. And so I wanted to say this, however, I can't tell you how many times I've had a conversation with the mother of somebody accused of a crime, and they tell me, my son would never do something like this, or I can't believe he's being charged with this. This is completely outside of his character, right? And, I might have to say, hey, Miss Robinson, listen, there's a video with your son on it, and he is pointing his weapon at the other person and firing it. And before he points his weapon and fires it, there's no threats to him. There's no, there's nothing that compromises his safety or anything that would suggest that he was acting in self-defense. This is just what appears to be a shooting in cold blood. And even seeing that, it's still like, well, there has to be something, right? And, and I don't judge them either. Like, if you're a parent, I think that you would want to believe that your son or your daughter is not capable of sometimes the things that they do, right? That's just, I think it's probably human nature to feel that way. But the reality is sometimes good people do very bad things. And, again, if you're watching this video or any of the other videos that I do, it's because you respect my credibility as an authority in the space. You respect the fact that I have been a criminal defense attorney for 15 years. You respect me for, my professional opinion, not my, emotional expressions of how I feel or how I want things to be. Earlier this year, I represented somebody, and, he was essentially facing life in prison. There was kind of a gray area in this case, and our position was that, our client just did not do what he's being charged with, right? So it wasn't necessarily about the act, whether he did the act. It was the mindset, the state of mind was the only issue in terms of whether, what he would have done was criminal or not. And, I remember, because he had been denied bail, if not 2-3 times, and going into that jail cell and being able to tell them, hey, listen, or tell him, you got to believe in this defense, right? I know this has been a dark period for you. I know it feels like you're losing at every turn. I know it feels like, this is not justice, right? You're within the criminal justice system, and this is not justice at all. I know you feel that way. But I can't have you give up hope. I need you to remain positive, and I need you to continue to keep in the back of your mind when things get dark, when things get hard, when you start doubting, when you're upset and angry and frustrated and all these negative emotions, that you have to continue to believe that ultimately justice will be served. You got to believe in our defense. You got to believe in me. You got to believe in yourself. And I kept reiterating that message, and eventually we took that case to trial. We put it in front of a jury. His life, as he knew it, was on the line. Again, facing life in prison. And ultimately, as I sit here and talking to you today, he's at home. He's at home with his son, enjoying his freedom, enjoying his life. And so for me, the reason why I mention this is I won the national championship in my space, right? I won at the highest level. It doesn't really get more serious than that unless somebody is getting put to death. And those are pretty rare cases where somebody is facing the death penalty. So I say that as an authority in this space. So when I'm telling you something, it's based on actual experience from somebody who does this every single day of the week. And so I say all that to say, when it comes to this particular case and these allegations, I want to believe that this is not true, right? I am giving Jay-Z, I'm giving even Sean Combs in this situation the benefit of the doubt. And as it relates to Puff, I know that he's been arrested. I know that he's been charged with a crime federally. I'm aware of what the federal, the United States Attorney's success rate is when it comes to trial. But none of that, none of that gets put in front of the jury. Hey, by the way, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I remind you that we have a 98% success rate when it comes to trial. No. We are not deciding every single one of those other cases. We're deciding this one case, United States versus Sean Combs, and you are to, render your verdict based on the facts of this case alone, right? And I know this isn't about him, but I just wanted to make sure that I reiterated that, because a lot of people are talking about the Fed's success rate. And yeah, I'm aware of that, but it's not 100%, right? It's not 100%. So whatever it is, whether it's, 2-4% of cases where there is an acquittal, right, or it does result in a dismissal after trial, maybe Diddy will be, one of those single digit percentage of people who end up beating their case. We don't know. But again, when it comes to this, I'm giving both of those brothers the benefit of the doubt. And again, I don't know. I wasn't there. You weren't there. And we are in the infancy stages of this case. There's so much more to be determined depending on if it moves forward, right? Obviously, Shawn Carter, Jay-Z, his lawyers have filed paperwork with the court requesting that the name of the Jane Doe plaintiff be revealed, right? So that they can properly defend themselves, right? It is extremely difficult to be able to defend yourself in a lawsuit when you have no idea who it is that is, that is accusing you, right? And, at the end of the day, he is not being charged criminally. And I thought it was interesting, his position of, listen, if you really think that I did this, right, this would be a criminal charge. So why don't you have law enforcement involved, right? Go to New York Police Department, right? Go to NYPD, go to the FBI, go to Homeland Security investigations, right? Because they, deal in, sex crimes and trafficking and all that. But yeah, if you're paying me out to be this monster who would do something like this, go to the authorities and have them investigate, as you should, right? And the reality is it would be a crime for either one of these guys if they did have sex with this girl. That absolutely would be a crime, right? It is it is a crime for an adult male to have sex with a minor, right? So that would be, a crime. No matter, we say, that girl's fast, right? No matter how fast a girl is, as a minor, it's still a crime. It doesn't matter if she said that she wanted it. It wouldn't matter if she was saying that she was an active participant. At the end of the day, a minor cannot legally give consent. But then when you couple that situation with alcohol, it's even worse, because you have someone who already cannot give consent. She's under the influence of alcohol, which is going to further assess her ability to make, a decision that she can't legally make in the first place, right? Then if you add the idea of drugs into the mix, because we have that allegation that, she took a drink of this cocktail, and it had that fruity taste, and it had a bitter taste along with that, right? If there was some sort of drug laced in this drink, right, which there would be possible reason to believe that there might be, if it's true that she was feeling woozy shortly after taking this drink, then we have someone who's a minor, then under the influence of alcohol, also under the influence of drugs. And to then take advantage of, a girl in that situation, I just can't see it being any worse than that in terms of, allegations. And again, at this point, all they are allegations. These could be absolutely true or they could be absolutely false. Again, my position at this point is I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, while at the same time, these things aren't, mutually exclusive, right? You can be respectful to this girl or this woman at this point. You could be respectful to her and to her family, while at the same time, being respectful to Jay and his situation, right? But I have questions, right? And I think it's unfortunate, right? That he's got to go back to his daughter, as he said. He's got to go to his daughter and explain these things. She's going to have to deal with, kids at school, bullying, just people being rude and disrespectful about these things. You know how kids are, right? But I definitely have questions, and my battery is actually about to run out. So I'm going to get to those questions in the next video. But if you got something out of this thus far, so this is going to be a part 1. If you got something out of this, show me some love, hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications so you never miss a new video when it drops. And I'll get to my questions that I have in this question in the next video. All right, peace.